Hello and welcome to Illumination Podcast with Nick and Kisma. I'm Nick, and today we're continuing our series on the Big Leap. And today we're talking about the hidden barriers to your zone of genius.
Hello and welcome to Illumination Podcast with Nick and Kisma, bringing you ancient wisdom for modern day success so that you can have the mindset to get your life and business set.
As always, thank you for tuning in. And if you're new to the podcast, take a quick second to hit the subscribe button in iTunes, SoundCloud, or Stitcher. If you want to get the inside info for this and every episode, as well as some free gifts, go to illuminationacademy.net/podcasts. And now let's dive in to get your mindset for your life and business set. Hey there, Kisma.
Well, hello. I can't wait for this one. I want to know my hidden barriers to my inner genius. I'm so excited.
Yeah, this is a good one because it's really
those barriers out, baby.
It gets to the core of things. Get those out. You ready? Get them out.
Break those barriers.
It does get to the core of things, and what I really appreciate about this section of the book is how much focus it provides. Because we're gonna talk, first of all, we're gonna talk about the zone of genius a little bit because that's important to understand what that is.
Right.
And secondly, we're going to dive into these. There are basically four areas. For barriers, and how he describes it, all the barriers will fall under these categories in some way or another. And we're going to be looking for the ones that really resonate with you. He says really clearly in the book, he's like, I've never met anybody who's had all four.
So
right?
glad. Hope I'm not the first.
Yeah.
Seriously, I don't want to be the first. Please don't let me be the first that has all four.
We can go up to Ojai and visit him sometime. I would like to meet him in person one day.
He's so great. I know. Yeah, I believe that he and his wife do great work up there. And, just to recap a little bit, last week's episode, which was about regarding the Big Leap. If you missed it, we talked more about self-sabotage.
Yeah, that's right.
If you haven't listened to it, finish listening to this one and go back.
I would stop this one right now.
You would stop?
Yeah, and go back. Yeah.
And listen, because it's very relevant in the sequence of this book.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And at the end, we kind of brushed on this sharing of your gifts, right? And the context of the book is the idea with our life, is to really discover and to share the gifts that we have, those unique gifts as a human being.
Right.
And he talks here, he puts them into zones, right? And people operating in certain zones. And he gives four zones. First is the zone of incompetence.
Ugh.
So this is basically just things that you're not good at.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
I'm not good at Excel.
That's right.
I will never do that. I'm not so good at cooking either.
That you're
correct.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to.
It's fine.
I don't know if it's okay for me to say that.
It is okay in this context. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I think about that. If we charged you with doing all the cooking
not
around,
good. No one would be eating.
Yeah, it wouldn't be fun. I happen to love it, and I'm not too bad at it.
You're
right?
good
It's
at
something
it.
that I'm getting better.
Yeah,
and I enjoy it. Right.
Yeah.
But that would be your zone of incompetence. And you think about that. Think about it. I think will be particularly relevant to people's work in their lives. If you're doing work that you're just not good at,
there will be no restaurant chefing in my life.
Yeah, that's not going to be happening. The second is your zone of competence. So these are things that you can do, and you're probably average at it.
I think there's many things in all of our lives that we're competent at because we're carrying through life, right?
Yeah, certainly an entrepreneur or somebody who has wears many hats within a business.
Right.
That's something that it's very easy to spend a lot of time in the zone of competence simply because nobody else is doing the stuff.
Right.
So for me, one of the things that I'd put in my zone of competence is working on websites. I'm okay.
Yeah, you are.
Not too bad
at that. Yeah.
I'm all right.
I'm
certainly no web designer, but I can make something passable and make
more
it,
than passable.
Make it look okay, and it'll do all right. My zone of competence. So it's definitely not my genius. And I don't know that it would even stretch into the next zone for me, which is my zone of excellence. Right. The zone of excellence. So there's things that you're definitely good at. Yeah.
Right.
This is where you will make some good money with those gifts.
And feel accomplished and fulfilled.
Absolutely.
As if you're walking in your path that you're meant to walk in.
That's right. Yeah. You're going to be in a place where there's a lot of temptation to just hang out there.
Yeah.
Because it's all right.
Because it's working.
Yeah,
it's good.
Works pretty well.
And congratulations for being there.
Yeah, congratulations. If you found a zone of excellence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's more.
And there's more. Like, what might there be more? Yeah, that's really a good point, The temptation, congratulations, right? Because less people than they think think that they have attained that have actually attained that. Like the excellence takes work.
It does.
This I think at a certain level as a musician, I probably attained a certain level of excellence with it. I was good at it. I was really dedicated to it. But at the end of the day, truly, it was not my zone of genius. I know that for sure.
Yeah, that's a good thing to know.
I don't know. I think it might have been yours. Like you were,
it was not my genius. I was highly excellent at it.
So good at it, though.
Yeah,
but you were amazing.
I worked hard to be that good.
The temptation is so strong to remain in the zone of excellence. It's where your own addiction to comfort wants you to stay.
Oh, say that again. Your own addiction to what?
Comfort. It's where your own addiction to comfort wants you to stay.
I feel good. It's rolling. It's cool. I'm good at this.
Yeah. It's also where your family, friends, and organization want you to stay.
My family wanted me to stay a musician.
Yeah. It's a risk. It's definitely a risk to step outside the zone of excellence because the stakes are higher, so to speak. It's like you found something and you've developed something that you're really good at.
Yeah.
And now it's like, okay, if you start to step out of that, like you might get it wrong,
right?
Or it might not go right. Like you can already hear the conversation of the sabotage coming in. It's very interesting.
What if it doesn't work?
The problem is that a deep, sacred part of you will wither and die if you stay inside your zone of excellence.
Aww.
Right? There's only one place where you will ultimately thrive and feel satisfied, and that's your zone of genius.
I believe that.
I believe
because,
that too.
I think we can all tap into that moment where like we get our big toe in the zone of genius and doesn't it feel good? Like it's scary, but it's also like, life, like the principle of life force is running through. You're like, this is why this is amazing. This and everything else is so quiet. The noise doesn't even get to you when you're in your zone of genius.
Yeah. Liberating and expressing your natural genius is your ultimate path to success and life satisfaction. Your zone of genius is the set of activities that you are uniquely suited to. They draw upon your special gifts and strengths. Your zone of genius beckons you with increasingly strong calls as you go through life. The call to genius is the name I've given these inner promptings.
Oh, the call to genius.
By age 40, many of us have tuned out the call to genius and are getting loud, repeated alarms hidden in the form of depression, illness, injuries, and relationship conflict. These alarms are reminding us to spend more time feeding our natural genius and letting it do its magic in the world. And in this book, I will show you how to heed the call. So that's what we're going to talk. We're going to talk about the four things around that. That's why the context is so important. But the zone of genius. I mean, I'll speak for myself. It's something that I wish somebody would just give me the answer to sometimes. Dude, just tell me the thing, right? Just tell me the thing.
Yeah.
But that's not how it works.
No, it's a receiving. I feel like it's a receiving.
Well, yeah, that's a really good way to put it. I was going to say it's an exploration, it's
for sure.
Yeah. But no, I really appreciate what you just said.
But we can
there.
explore all we want. It's just like abundance. If we have a receiving issue, does not show up like we want it. And same with our zone if we're not willing to receive. Yeah.
That's a really interesting way to put it.
Because there's so many, as we'll get into, there's so many opportunities and stretches and places that we have to go through and walk through in order to receive it. And if we stop that at any point, it's a little bit of a challenge.
I'm going to take that with some reflection. He talks here about these four barriers, these four hidden barriers, all have something in common. Although they seem true and real, they are based on beliefs about ourselves that are neither true nor real. In fact, the fact that we unconsciously take them as true and real is the barrier holding us back. That's what makes this a sticky conversation. And again, this is the piece that I kind of want to reiterate for everybody. This is why it's so important to have somebody in your life that can help you with these things.
Right.
Really, really just recommend that. so many people are just try to go it on their own and figure it all out because it doesn't matter. It doesn't count if I didn't figure it out myself. It's like, no, you're still going to do the work, but having guidance along that path and having somebody that can really hold that for you, that is truly priceless. Mm-hmm. When you encounter the barrier, your upper limit problem is triggered. The form it takes depends on which fears and false beliefs you picked up in your early life. So a fun, let's call it fun. We'll go with fun. A way that you can start to explore this, I'm going to ask, and I'm going to give you statements that for you to complete. So Kisma, you had a good thought on
let's set this up. So there are 4 statements that Nick is going to read. You can complete. And I want everyone, like, as you're listening, tap into your body and notice where you feel a charge. It's just like some of you will feel it in your bodies. Others will like break out into a sweat. You're just going to know the ones that really resonate with you most. So be very present for these statements.
Yeah. So take a deep breath and just without thinking about it, let your mind complete this sentence. I cannot expand to my full potential because blank.
What did you hear, everyone?
What did you hear? You
write
can even
it down.
If you're at home, hit the pause button and write it down. Mm-hmm. Like you can, work right along with us.
Read that one again.
I cannot expand to my full potential because in relationships, I cannot enjoy abundant love and relationship harmony because. And if you're quiet, you don't have to, it's like, sure, you're waiting for an answer, but if you echo the question a few times, sooner or later, the statement will complete itself.
What's that one again?
I cannot enjoy abundant love and relationship harmony because. And the last one for this, I cannot expand to my full wealth potential because.
I cannot expand to my full wealth potential because. Fill in the blank.
Yeah.
So that was 3.
That's 3.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's just the idea of like really setting it up. And if you might have felt some of that in your body, we're going to invite you to stay really connected and tuned in with yourself for this. Even if you need to go back and listen to it a couple times or, just bookmark it so that you come back and listen when you're in a quiet place. Because you need some of that quietude and you probably feel some reactions in your body just as you say those statements to yourself and see what comes after. But for this part in particular, you're really going to want to stay connected because as we talk about these barriers, you will likely have a certain reaction. Some of these will resonate more than the others. And you want to grab the one, maybe 2 that really resonate with you the most and just let that be your thing to solve. Yeah. If you spent the whole year solving that one thing, that's a year well spent on your personal development. Right. And it's all right here for you.
I agree.
You can't necessarily choose wrong, particularly if you're, really paying attention to what's going on within you. These are going to resonate with you in some way. So just pay attention to what's going on within you. Ready? Hidden barrier number 1, feeling fundamentally flawed. I can't expand to my full creative genius because something is fundamentally wrong with me.
So that can be a hidden barrier belief.
Yeah.
Paradigm.
Well, when things start to go really well, it's like, well, wait a second. Because you see, it's a hidden belief, right? Think about it. It's like a truth. Like you've accepted this as true. I am fundamentally flawed. There is something wrong with me.
Right. So everything that's created is through that lens.
Yeah, that's right. So given that I am fundamentally flawed, which is like non-negotiable, in the subconscious mind, so to speak, it's like, yeah, of course there's,
but not true, everyone. Not true.
Not true. No, but to the subconscious mind, it is. How can I possibly be this happy or rich or wealthy or creative? Like, how can I possibly have, if I'm fundamentally flawed, how can I possibly have a relationship
it's a conflict
this good?
Of values or truth statements. Yeah. Okay.
It'll show up times around the not deserving stuff. And I hear this in couples sometimes, and it really makes me sad where one of the couples will they're like, or one of the people, they'll say, they're like my partner. They're just so good. Like I don't deserve somebody that good.
Aww.
And they say it kind of flippantly, and I know it's
truth
like,
and
but there's something in that, and it's just like, oh man, that really makes me sad.
Yeah.
You're awesome. Like, yeah, they're awesome, but you're awesome too. And
right. Okay, what's the next one?
Yeah, I don't know.
It's so good. I feel like I need popcorn.
Can you think of is there anything that pops up to you? Like, where have you seen this, either in yourself or in clients, that it has shown up?
Yeah, I mean, I think definitely in my music career, it showed up as just coming from what someone taught me when I was, I don't know, maybe 13 and playing the flute. And this one teacher said, well, if you were going to be Jean-Pierre Rampal, we'd know that by now.
Mm-hmm.
So she immediately she just like, and I was just young enough to take it. It was like, oh, I'll never be a major soloist.
Oh.
So every time I went on stage for a long period, I had to really work on this. I would hear that voice well. And just for you listening, Jean-Pierre Rampal was this amazing flutist. If you were going to be a Jean-Pierre Rampal, we would have known that by now. So it was like, it's like that. Well, I'm fundamentally, I'm not the best. I would have already appeared the best.
Yeah.
So I had to work on that a lot.
Yeah. So, and then what would happen when you get on stage? You've got that voice going.
There's the voice.
Yeah.
So it was challenging to really play in a zone of genius level.
Because of the fear of...
Not fear, just the belief that, well, I would have already been discovered if I was going to be great. So I'm not.
Good one. Really good one.
Pesky.
Here is hidden barrier number 2, disloyalty and abandonment. When we are struck behind the barrier of disloyalty and abandonment, our unconscious mantra goes something like this. I cannot expand to my full success because it would cause me to end up all alone, be disloyal to my roots, and leave people behind from my past.
Oh, I think that permeates a lot of people's beliefs, a fear of losing people if they're successful.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
It shows up. I see it certainly a lot around money stuff, and business. Like if I were really successful with my business, then like, what will my family think of me?
What will my family think? Or just hitting the ceiling of what a parent made in income.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I can't go beyond that.
Yeah.
That's like a lack of loyalty,
mm-hmm.
love, connection. That's a deep one.
Yeah. It's like you've somehow betrayed your family if you exceed their wealth and income.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Their level of success or whatever that is. Did I break, then here you ask some good questions around this one. Did I break the family's spoken or unspoken rules to get where I am? Ooh, that's, you think about that. Okay. Oh, that person they must have done something wrong to get that money.
Yes. And and if somebody grows up in a family where rich people are bad or wrong, and you hear that a lot, and all of a sudden you're seeking to create more wealth, well, guess what you're taking on? The belief from your family that you're going to be bad or wrong.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Even though I am successful, did I fail to meet the expectations my parents had of me? So awesome that you've got your $1 million business and you're doing really great and you've built this whole thing, but you know what? You're not a doctor.
You're not a doctor. You're not a priest. You're not a lawyer. You're not a rabbi.
Yeah.
Disappointment.
Never
right? Enough.
So it's really, really fascinating how that one shows up here. Yeah. So that one again, I cannot expand to my full success because it would cause me to end up all alone, be disloyal to my roots, and leave people behind me from my past. It's a good one. If you're tapping into your body, these are going to resonate in some way, and just tapping into yourself.
You really want to notice that feeling, the charge of what's showing up.
Yeah, maybe it's just like all of a sudden that voice starts going off in your head. Like whatever it is, pay attention to that. Like those are little clues that are going to help you dial it in. Hidden barrier number 3, believing that more success brings a bigger burden.
Can we hear that, right? The more money, the bigger the problem, the bigger the company, the more challenge, like all of that.
That's right.
In taking that belief on. So not stepping into what's in front of you.
Mm-hmm. An old belief that you're a burden can hold you back from expanding to your full capacity for success and enjoyment. If this belief has a grip on you, your upper limit mantra goes something like this. I can't expand to my highest potential because I'd be an even bigger burden than I am now.
I think that extends to that whatever the responsibilities are would be a bigger burden.
The avoidance of responsibility. Yeah, I agree with you. There's both of those. Because you think,
I can't handle it. I'm not prepared.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's something that a lot of people don't think about too, is like, well, in order for me to really live in that zone of genius, like what kind of help would I need around me?
Exactly.
Because everybody's so busy trying to do it all themselves and not be too much of a bother to anybody.
Right.
Right. I just want to, do my part and not be a bother. And I don't want people worrying about me. And then, and if you're really going to live in your zone of genius, you're going to need some support.
You need support.
You're definitely going to need some support around that. Why? Because you're not doing all the other stuff, right? The zone of incompetence, competence, and excellence. Right. You're really focused on your zone of genius, where that joy flows, where that, your real gifts are shining through. Other things are going to need to be held. And if you don't feel like you're worthy of having the help around that, or if you're just going to be a burden on people, that is exactly how that's going to come up. So it's kind of, to me, this is a little bit of a multi-layered one of like, I don't want to be responsible for all of that. And also, I don't want other people to have to be responsible for, supporting me. That, I think that's one of mine. Yeah. If I'm going to be perfectly transparent to both you and my audience, that one resonates with me. Yeah.
We're going to solve that.
I see that look.
What's the last one?
Hidden barrier number 4, the crime of outshining. I must not expand to my full success, because if I did, I would outshine blank and make him or her look or feel bad.
Whoa, dude. I bet our listeners are just hearing things that they never thought. This is such important work, everyone.
It really is. And you think about this one particularly related to family and siblings, that old stuff from childhood.
Right.
He gives a really great example, not a specific example in this, but it's like, okay, you're doing really well. You're a little kid, you're doing really well. And you look over and maybe you beat out your sibling, in a competition, and you look over at your mom and your mom looks a little sad, So one of her siblings won and one of them lost, right? And then it's like, oh, I don't want mom to be sad. That's the way that these things get trapped in there.
So nuanced.
I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've been working, I've been sitting down working with a client, and all of a sudden an old memory comes up around something. It's like, man, like, where did that come from?
Right.
And sure enough, you clean that up, and it's like one more piece, one more thing that they're free from, or, it just provides that massive insight to look at, be like, whoa, I didn't realize that was even in there.
Yeah. What the child can do too, as well, is not only not win, but act like they're perfectly fine not winning to just make the mother happy.
Yeah.
Which is going against their possible zone of future genius.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm just going to play it safe, play it small.
Yeah.
And
then we grow up and we have that agreement and we function through it in a more mature way and keep playing it safe.
Yeah. But what do you wind up with? Good enough.
Good enough.
Good enough. Pretty good. Not too bad.
Good enough. Everyone's happy.
Yeah. Yeah, we're good. We're fine. That to me is like the definition of fine.
Yeah.
And fine. I mean, fine's fine. Like it's all right, but it's fine.
We want leaping, everyone.
Yeah.
Big leaps.
Excellence, like
big leaps.
Brilliance, genius.
So what do we all do when we're feeling these things?
Realize that they're there. Yeah.
Yeah. The awareness of it is the first step.
Yeah. And in our next episode, we're going to talk more about the modes like that these will function through. So, okay, so you have this fear or this thing that you may not, okay, so now you have a sense of it, but let's see how it starts to show up and sabotage yourself in your life. That's another thing that I really like about this book is it's very actionable because it gives you a choice. So when some of those patterns start to come up, worry or something like that, you can look at it and be like, oh, I wonder what might be there. I wonder what I might be resisting.
Right.
And then you have an opportunity to make a new choice. So as far as that's concerned, I mean, I think just determining what your one, maybe two things are that you're really going to be aware of. And I'm going to caution everybody, don't go right to it and just say, I'm the one person that's got all four. It must be me. Like that's the fundamentally flawed thing coming out full circle. Just so you know, definitely go to that one. But,
Focus on that. Start there.
But you want to choose one, maybe two, just to give yourself some focus for this. So that's a really good place for you to start. And then in the next episode, we'll dive into it a little bit deeper.
So tune in next week. I can't wait. Oh my gosh, this was so good. So, wow. I feel like the illuminated thought is that there's a story to let go of, and you get to let go. You really do choose. You get to choose to let go of that story.
I just might be able to let go of that story.
I just might be able to let go of that story. It's a good one. All right, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to The Big Leap. This was part 2. Stay tuned for next week, part 3. And if you have any questions, shares, etc., please email us at hello@illuminationpodcast.com.
Namaste.
Peace. Hey, thanks for jamming with us today. And if you enjoy Illumination Podcast, please go ahead and share it with someone you love. Give us a rating, review, download our podcast. And remember, you can find us at illuminationacademy.net/podcasts. Talk to you soon. Namaste.